Hi, Jerry Nelson, life coach, to talk to you about the anger freedom process. Question is, how do we get rid of our anger, or how are we freed up from not having anger? And how could we develop an anger freedom process? Well, let's first review how anger is generated. First of all, we all have a set of expectations. These might be expectations we really have, or they might be expectations our parents taught us, or society taught us. But we all have expectations. And these expectations are sometimes violated. And when those expectations are violated, we have a primary feeling, such as hurt or embarrassment or whatever. And then we have a secondary feeling, which is anger. We get angry when our expectations are violated. And that generates a response. Now, anger is an energy generator. So we always have a response. Now, we might stuff it for 10 years, but then when the ulcers happen, we have a response. So anger as an energy has to always be dealt with. Now, let's explain how the anger freedom process works. You have an expectation, and you get your response. Well, you're not free of anger in that situation. So one of the strategies on how to get free of anger is to lower your expectations or drop them altogether. If you expect someone to stop their car at a stop sign and they don't stop, you have a violation. It causes embarrassment and then anger, and you respond by hitting your horn that somebody didn't stop at a stop sign. Well, that is one way to get rid of anger with hitting the horn. It gets rid of the energy, but it is not really freedom from your anger. So one of the first strategies is to review your expectations and see if indeed you really do expect what your expectations are. In other words, when you find yourself in a place where you're angry, how do you work yourself back to, well, what's my expectation that made me angry in this situation? And when you find out what that expectation is, then you can take an example of, well, or you can take and review whether or not this expectation is valid for you. If it's not valid, if it's, for example, that car example at the stop sign, if you really don't expect everybody to stop at a stop sign, but you start realizing some people don't have their head in their driving, you can lower your expectation. And when you lower your expectation, well, I'm going to come to stop signs, but I'm not going to expect that everybody stops. Well, if that's now your new expectation, you have totally shut off how anger is generated in that situation. So you have literally created an anger freedom response by lowering your expectation. Now, if you have people in your life, he made me angry or she made me angry is the thing we like to tell ourselves. But the reality is they did not make us angry. What happened was they did something that violated our expectation, and we ourselves made our anger happen. So when we become responsible for what anger is generated, then we can, by lowering our expectation or dropping it altogether, we can have freedom from that anger. Now, there obviously are situations in which we do have an expectation. I expect to have a meal at 6 o'clock in the evening, or whatever your expectation is. And when you stop and review after you've been angry, you didn't have a meal at 6, you was at 7 till everything got ready, well, yeah, and you got angry. Well, what happened in that anger generation? You check out how your expectation is being generated, how it's generating anger, and then off of that you can say, well, no, I really am going to get angry every time that I don't have a meal at 6 o'clock. So my expectation is real. I'm going to validate my expectation. So now how do we get free of the anger in that situation? Well, we expect the thing, it happens, it generates the feelings and the anger, and so now we have this anger energy in us, and the question is, how are we going to deal with that? Well, to get free of that anger, we have to learn to express it in good style. We have another tape in this series where we're talking about the three-part I message, And that will help you learn how to express in good style the anger energy that you have, and that will free you up from the anger. What we're talking about when we're talking about a freedom from anger response, we're talking about how to process anger so that it is not affecting us. If we don't process that anger, we can have it come out in ulcers, we can have it come out in behavior that's inappropriate, we can hit walls, we can do whatever. And in order to be free of anger and of these inappropriate responses, we need to process that energy. So the three-part iMessage is one way. Using the Serenity Prayer that I did in another video, that's another way. So there are many strategies in which to process your anger. For example, the Bible says, let not the sun go down on your anger in the Old King James. And what that means is, don't build up your anger. Don't keep it. Don't process it out. Talk to somebody in good style. Take a walk. You can actually do physical energy type things to drain off the anger. And so there's two strategies to review this. There's two strategies on how to be free of anger. Number one is to lower our expectations. And when we've lowered those expectations, we no longer generate anger, so then we're free of that anger. On other cases, we are actually validating our expectation, and we're learning how to express anger in good style, so that's the way we get free of anger that way. We're free of anger becoming self-destructive or other destructive in our lives. So with that, we'll end this video. If you have some questions or comments in the blogs, please enter them there. This is Jerry Nelson, Life Coach.